Perfect. Well, thank you for the introduction, Valerie. And she gets ahead and shares our slides just to kind of give you an overview agenda of what we'll go through today. Like she mentioned, I will introduce myself and I know I'm a new face around here, so kind of talk more about how I got here and involved with the foundation. And then we will go ahead and talk about something that we have upcoming, which is the patient census. And then, as Valerie mentioned, the clinic engagement group will share their updates, and then Valerie will share her updates with research. And so with that, we can go ahead with the next slide. Are you able to put the slides in the full presenter mode, Valerie? If that
I can
works for
try.
you. If not, that's okay. Okay. Oh,
I
perfect. That looks great.
I'm just not sure whether I still see people who want to join, but
Okay, if you have
that's
to
my
take it
own.
out, that's totally fine. But
Yeah.
awesome. So this is some background on who I am and how I got here. I had quite a fun time putting together this little road diagram of my journey here. But just to share that in high school, my family actually went through our own rare disease diagnosis journey, and that really kicked off my interest in genetics and also in rare disease. And from there, I did my undergraduate education at the University of Notre Dame, where I majored in science pre-professional studies and Spanish. And I also picked up this minor in science and patient advocacy. And that was a really formative minor program for me. It was focused on patient advocacy skills in the rare disease space specifically. And so it was through that program in the spring of 2024 as a part of my senior capstone course, where I was introduced to the AYA Foundation. We worked with them on a series of projects for a semester. And I really kind of got to know the mission of the foundation and the work that is done here for this community, and kind of really got inspired by a lot of that advocacy work. I then graduated in May and then went on to pursuing my program at the University of Pennsylvania in genetic counseling. And so that's what I'm currently doing now. I'm working on that master's program to become a genetic counselor. And as a part of that training, actually, a lot of our clinical work is done through the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And so it kind of just worked out that serendipitously I ended up at a place where CHOP has a pretty excellent center for leukodystrophy, and I also just really had an interest in continuing a lot of that advocacy work. And so that's kind of why I continued with the foundation as a graduate student intern. And so that is my current role. I'm sort of helping out in an internship capacity, both continuing the work that we started in the Notre Dame program, as well as helping with new initiatives. And so that leads me to talking about one of those new initiatives, which is our patient census. It's going to be just a brief family survey that we'll send out to all of you to collect a little bit of information on your family and on your 4-H leukodystrophy journey. And the hope is to have this come out in the summer, so should be coming very soon. And you'll just get a link, and it'll be a very quick form. Should only take about 5 to 10 minutes to fill out. And I'm sure, the big question everyone's wondering is why? Why does the foundation want to know this information, and why should you fill it out? And so that is what I'll spend the next few slides talking about. We can go ahead to the next slide. Perfect. So the first thing I thought, might be helpful to understand why the foundation wants to know this information is doing a bit of a side-by-side comparison of what we're actually going to ask on the survey compared with what the foundation is hoping to do with that information. And so that's what this table is here for you to show. And so just to walk you through a little bit of what we will be asking. First is just going to be basic contact information. And of course, that's aimed at getting to know the best ways to get in touch with you and your family, how we can improve our communication as a foundation to all of you, and also just sort of at a basic level to ensure that the contact information we currently have for you is the most up to date. Email switch all the time and phone number switch all the time. So we just want to make sure we have the most up to date version that we can. The next piece that the survey will ask you is a little bit about the background on your diagnosis. So, asking about age at a 4-H diagnosis, and also maybe how long it took for that diagnosis. And the overall goal with asking that is to think about ways the foundation can help improve the diagnosis experience for families. And so, knowing the age that it happens at, and also how long it would take, can help us think about initiatives or education efforts that we can put out there to make sure that that experience is as smooth as possible for families. The next piece that we will ask about is a little bit about some of the genetic information for your diagnosis. So both the particular gene that is implicated in your family and also the specific variants. And the goals with this information is really to have a better understanding of the frequency of some of the genetic causes within our particular cohort. And so obviously that will help with a little bit about, shaping some of the research efforts that are being done and knowing, how many people have a particular gene at play in their 4-H diagnosis. But also the goal is to help with our communication to you guys about what research is actually coming out. And so we do know that, particular studies have strict inclusion criteria as to which particular genetic change would qualify you or disqualify you for research or really even be relevant to you. And so knowing which genetic change you have can really help us in narrowing down who receives what communication. So that's the overall goal there. And we just wanted to note that that information is going to be for internal use only. It's not something that will be shared broadly. So, we understand, privacy concerns there, but it'll definitely be just used within the foundation for better refining our communication with everyone. And then next is, if we can go back.
More?
Yes, a couple more bullets on the last slide. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. The last little piece is we are going to ask a little bit of information on your healthcare team. The goal with that is to identify current providers who are currently seeing patients, because as our clinic engagement team will talk about later, we are developing some resources for those teams in terms of education. And so knowing who those people are that we can send out that information to will be very helpful. And then also another goal is to develop more of a network of clinics that we can connect families with if they are looking for providers. And so knowing who the current providers are that are caring for 4-H families will be very helpful. And then finally, a little bit about how you got connected with the foundation will help us improve efforts to connect with more families. So that's the general sense of what the census will ask you. And then we can go ahead to the next slide, Valen. Thank you. And then this next slide is sort of more focused on, what the census can help you as a family with. And so beyond what the information can help the foundation do, what will it actually have tangible impacts on for you guys? And so the first little bucket that I created here was this idea of driving community building efforts. And so by having up-to-date information on contact information and where people are located, it can really help with like really granular details as small as, coordinating the time zones of meetings, making sure we have the accurate transcriptions and closed captions on meetings, picking the location where meetings are being held. So even just like operational details about those community building efforts is a really big goal of collecting this information on the census. And the next piece, which I already touched on a little bit, but by providing some of the information on your healthcare providers, this will really help with the foundation's goal of building out that network of clinics and being able to provide those teams with up-to-date educational resources. So like I mentioned, we'll talk a little bit more about this in a few slides, but just important to keep in mind that a goal is to really help some of the education and clinic care that you're currently receiving as a family. And then finally, I also mentioned a little bit about this, but it will ultimately help with preparing our community for research. And so having information on the ages that people are, the particular genetic causes that are at play, and some of just those basic demographic features are details that are important when researchers are thinking about building out studies. And so having that information sort of in one place organized will be really helpful to make sure that our community is as best prepared as possible to participate in research. And then, like I mentioned, knowing that information will also make sure that we have a better idea of who to contact when certain studies are being conducted. So those are just the 3 buckets that I sort of parsed out as to what you might benefit from with participating in this.
Cool. All right, I'll see you
next slide, Valerie.
All right, bye.
And then I wanted to put together just a little bit brief of a slide on how this is different from the Rare X registry, because I know some people might be wondering that. And so just a little bit of background if you're unfamiliar with what the Rare X registry is. Rare X is a Global Genes initiative. Global Genes is a kind of rare disease community resource that partners with a bunch of different rare disease organizations, but also with the Yaya Foundation. to collect registry data on 4-H patient families. So it consists of a series of surveys that are a little bit more detailed and they tend to have more health-related questions. The goal of these surveys is to collect data that can then be shared with other researchers in the 4-H space or other patient organizations across the world in order to sort of have this collaborative effort to driving knowledge, research, therapy development in the 4-H space. So as you can see, it's a pretty important process to participate in and can really help the whole community in pushing along research efforts. And so if you're interested in learning more about it or for participating in those surveys, these slides will be sent out and you can follow that link that's listed to learn more. But we just wanted to mention that while the foundation does have access to some of that data that's filled out in those surveys, we really haven't been able to use it for a lot of the questions that we have about some of those initiatives that I just mentioned. And so things like which providers you see or the best ways to contact you, like that's not really the information that those surveys are focused on. And so with our census, it'll be more brief. It's just like I mentioned, one-time survey, 5 to 10 minutes, should be really quick. Like I said as well, it is for internal use to inform the foundation's operations and initiatives, like the outreach and the community building that I mentioned. And so as opposed to RareX, where some of the data might be shared with other researchers, this information won't directly inform research efforts. I know I just discussed, how it can be used in research contexts, like being able to improve our communication that we share with all of you about research, or kind of being able to have global demographic data on our community, but your individual data won't contribute to research in the same way that it might in RareX. But I just left this little bullet point that is still really important to participate both in our census and also in the RareX surveys. And next slide. Awesome. And then just wanted to leave a final idea that we are contemplating. So I wanted to kind of mark this slide with a little bit of, a question mark because we haven't quite decided how we want this to look. But I wanted to share that we are thinking about developing an item that we can use to serve as sort of a thank you or an acknowledgement for completing the census, because we know, lives are busy and it's really helpful with that we do have this information. And so we really appreciate everyone who takes the time to fill it out. So we've been discussing, internally, maybe building an informational resource packet that could be sort of, an acknowledgement of your participation that you would be sent a link to if you fill out the census. And so we're thinking that maybe a packet like this could include an easy access links to some of those provider educational resources that we'll talk about briefly, maybe a list of financial resources or supports that we can send links to, and some other, like helpful information, sort of a one-stop shop for some of those things. And so we wanted to sort of just put that out there as an idea, and we can maybe not right now for the sake of time, but maybe after we finish our presentation, collect any thoughts, ideas, feedbacks on whether that's something people would be interested in, or if you have another idea of what you would like to receive as a thank you for completing the census. This is just ours. So I'll leave that idea with you to simmer a little bit, and you can feel free to share your thoughts either at the end of the meeting, or we're always open for emails. So, and I believe that is all I have on my end.
Does anybody has any questions? No?
No.
No. Okay, good. Then I want to add one thing, that because we had this today, when we know when we have a good idea where you all live, then I will be able to send you the right times for your time zone to join the meeting. So I apologize. I know some of you had asked, so hopefully next time we have that specifically to everybody where you are. Then I'm really happy to introduce the rest of our clinic engagement group. There is Elsa Keeler and Margot Hutchinson have joined us today. And Margot, do you want to start introducing yourself for the clinical engagement group and what we've all been doing and trying to do?
Okay, yes, I'd be happy to. I'm happy to join you all today because the reason that we are here is literally for you, the clinical patients, the patients and families, and myself and Elsa. I was family practice physician for 40 years, did a lot in the orthopedic field, um, and also was sort of honored at the same time. It was difficult, was friends with the family, the Garbers, who some of you may know, knowing Yaya from even before she was born, and just watching a family go through from her not smiling at 6 to 8 weeks to through the whole process of getting diagnosed in that long, arduous process, and then going through her treatment. Then, unfortunately, her, untimely passing at 13 months because she had a severe case. So we've been involved with the Yaya Foundation from the beginning because of a heart to help families go through this process much easier and with help and support than what Ron and June had. I've been working with Valerie and Elsa on just information and materials that we can help for you as families, and then also information that you can get to your primary care doctors. Most primary care doctors have not seen most rare diseases, as you can imagine, and so they need the help from you all through us to educate them about what your needs are having a child with 4H leukodystrophy.
And I can briefly introduce myself. I'm Elsa Keeler. I'm a friend of Margot's, which is how I got involved. So actually, first of all, just very honored to be here today with you all and connect to some of the work that we've been doing. My career has been in pediatrics, primary care pediatrics. And during that career, a lot of work around a medical home for children with special health needs, rare diseases, chronic conditions that affect their growth and their development. So that's my background. I have very much appreciated advocating, and this work has just felt very good to me to be able to collaborate on language around 4-H that can be shared with primary care clinicians in a way that will help them be better supports to you as their patients and families.
Thank you. So thank you. And I wanted to say, so as the document that is ready now for you, if you want to have it, it's just not yet on our website, is, as said, the summary of medical information. So if you're interested, we'd be happy to send it to you, or we'll post it on Facebook and make it available soon. So this is the work that the clinic group has done, and I was going to tell you a little bit about what's going on in research right now. First of all, this is really all about, or I want to start with a meeting that happened in end of February this year, the GLIA meeting at Children's Hospital in CHOP, and this is just as an overview. So GLIA stands for Global Leukodystrophy Initiative, and it is really a big initiative spearheaded by Adeline van der Weer, that you all know probably, a children's hospital in Philadelphia, who brings together really all the advocacy groups, the industry, and all the academia to really work on leukodystrophies and do natural history studies and things like that. I just wanted to show briefly this. These are all the advocacy groups that are part of that consortium, and we are in there. So that's good. There is also, I wanted to show you the clinics all across the US that are currently active actively collecting data, but not only that, but there are also global partner sites you can see is in Europe, in Australia, all over the world. We were hoping to bring on more sites in the US, but that is pending on a grant, and as you know, in the US right now, it is difficult. The grant process is frozen, so we don't know where this goes, and this is something where they might help from us. What we do in these meetings, this is what this consortium does. It does collect among other things, natural history studies, and those of you who were part of the last family meeting in Philadelphia are probably also probably participated in that study. You can see we have a pretty good amount of patients collected, 50, so that is not bad. So that is an ongoing study. What also happens at the GLIA meeting is that there are work groups for each leukodystrophy, also for polar-3 leukodystrophy, and we get together before the meeting, and think about what has happened in the last couple of years, what progress have we made, what do we need to do next, where are needs, and where are gaps. And I just wanted to say this is the work group participants on there, and just to tell you, basically everybody on their work group is sort of associated with the Yaya Foundation in one way or the other, as people that we funded, that we worked with, and many of those people will be known to you, in particular Genevieve, of course, and Dr. Bernard, who many of you know. And this is sort of what we felt that the state of the polar-3 related leukodystrophy research is. We did have advances in the last years, and what I was really happy was that the clinician says that we have a really active and engaged patient community organization. So this is really for you, all of you. Thank you for participating and being part of that group, because we hear this over and over again from industry, from everywhere. If there is an engaged group, and the patient advocacy groups make an enormous contribution to research. So this is really something that goes big thanks to you. We do what other things that we have learned more. Sorry? Did you have somebody had a question? No. Other things that we have learned more is there was another gene discovered that causes polar-3 related leukodystrophy. This is currently still rare, or we don't know many families about that, but we never know. Once we start looking, we find more. We have a better understanding of the disease pathogenesis. As you might have known from the last call, Dr. Bernard has a number of mouse models and cell lines that can be used for research, which is also very important. What is still an unmet need, and what we still need to do, and you've heard this before, and I know that research is slow. We still need to get better at natural history study. We have some data, but we don't yet have enough for everything. We need better biomarkers. You know that the Yaya Foundation has funded part of a biomarker study at Children's Hospital, so we've tried to do that. We need more and better disease models. We have better ones than we had a few years ago, but it's still more. And then, of course, therapeutic development. There is not, that is, our goal is to get there. We really want to, strengthen existing collaborative efforts. But as you can see, we are in research and, as I said, in the patient community. We have relatively good groups and working groups, and this is really good for us. Every year we do these heat maps and say, where have we progressed and how are we? And so everything, where you want to be is in blue and green. And where you start out usually is in red. And you can see in 2020, when we did this exercise for the first time, we were in many categories like advocacy, outcome measures, preclinical development, therapeutic development, access to diagnosis, knowing the phenotypic spectrum of this disease, and so on and so on. We were pretty much in the orange-yellow part, and we have made a little bit progress in the last 3 years. As you can see, in particular, once again, in advocacy, I think you've all done a good work in strengthening our group. And yes, therapies, we are still not where we want to be, and we have a long way to go, but we have gotten a little bit better. So that is what I have to say to that. Do people have any questions about that? Then I will continue. I will switch to the next topic. There's another good news that we have. Dr. Bernard at McGill has been awarded a really big grant that is called D2R grant. This is a grant that is what is the way that they have titled is Hope for Polar-3 Related Leukodystrophy, Pioneering Antisense Oligonucleotide and Messenger RNA Replacement Therapies, which is similar but somewhat different to gene therapy. What we've been looking at up to now mostly is gene therapy replacing or adding a healthy copy of the Polar3B gene to cells. This is what we did the mouse model for. This is what we have done and what the Yaya Foundation also funded in Dr. Bernard's lab. But this grant will allow them to do other avenues. What is very good is that the lab has the mouse models now and the cell lines to perform testing for these new therapies. And if we look at it, how it compares to gene therapy, it is much less invasive than gene therapy. And it is also less expensive and more accessible. It is, so we have some hope that there will be, that this will be something that may not be as, as changing as gene therapy can be, but at least will be somewhat quicker. And so we have a request from Dr. Bernard's lab to raise $50,000 to perform a retrospective study on data she already has, a natural history study, because there is really hope that we might be able to get something there that can go into clinical trials in a reasonable time frame in the next 5 years or so, if we have the natural history data to compare this. And that is actually, I had a little slide about antisense oligonucleotide therapy, but I will skip that. That is for people to look at in the slides afterwards, unless people have questions. So this is another thing, and these are a few other things that I wanted to point out that we've been planning or working on. You all know about the Yaya Foundation Family Gathering in Amsterdam. It is not that long. It's not that long. It's not that long time that we will meet there. And I'm really looking forward to that. We also will have another family call and foundation engagement call in June, and there's more to come. Please look at Facebook. Ben also wanted to let you know about the next family gathering in the US. We are planning on having one in Minneapolis this fall, September 25th to 28th. So please mark your your calendars there. Ben also wanted me to let you know that there is a summer appeal in June, and the foundation will give you means and ways to do fundraising if you wish to do so, and how you can do that. And that is really all that I have, I think. Yes. This is my talk. As I say, we will send this out. We will send the notes out. Does anybody have any further questions?
And I saw a few questions in the chat as well, Valerie. I didn't know if you wanted to address those.
Okay.
I think one is, where will the recording be shared?
Okay. We had said to do, I think Keely had said she will share it on Facebook as soon as we have it. So give us a day or two. And then we will let people know how to find it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, so I heard you say that you're trying to raise $50,000 for Dr. Bernard. Was there a time frame on that? And yeah, was there a time frame on that?
Frankly, as quickly as we can, because she has the data and the records, and she is ready to go to perform the study. It's a retrospective natural history study, but she needs to have some personnel to do so. So if there is a way, this is something we can talk about with Ben, if you are interested in doing so or helping out with that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Maybe,
thank you.
Yeah, this is Margot. Maybe we can ask Ben to put together a sort of GoFundMe or information for everyone, because family members and people on the board, we're the ones who really care that this gets moving.
Yeah. I think this might be part also of the family summer appeal, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Me, are you on? Can I? Does Tommy left? Because otherwise, if people want to talk in private or perhaps introduce each other, then I would stop the recording, and we can move from the sort of to the more informal part, for you to talk to each other and ask questions. Okay, yeah, good. Hang on.